Okay, we are now going to look at standard 4.8, which is basically all about homeostasis and how our body maintains stable internal conditions. So you will be able to explain the concept of homeostasis. You'll describe how the different systems of our body work together to move things around and get rid of waste. And you will be able to describe a physiological feedback loop using an example of temperature regulation. We're also going to take a look at blood glucose regulation. Okay, so pretty simple here. You need to know what homeostasis means, which we've talked about quite a bit, and we'll be talking about the feedback loop. All right, so homeostasis. Remember the word homeo means same, stasis is conditions, so keeping everything in your stable internal conditions. Okay? Despite what's happening on the outside, the inside of your body has to maintain stable conditions. So things that we need to be able to keep at certain levels. Temperature. Remember, our average temperature should be somewhere around 98 degrees. Okay? Our chemical balance, like pH, remember pH around 7 is neutral, and that's where most of our body parts work the best. We also have to keep our amount of water in balance, which is directly related to pH and temperature, actually. And if we don't have enough water, then our cells will not be able to function correctly, because that's where most of our chemical reactions will occur. Okay, so continuing on. So to maintain our stable internal environment, our body will actually use a homeostatic mechanism. The homeostatic mechanism is going to monitor the body and then correct anything that needs to be corrected. And it's basically going to do this using 3 different parts. First of all, you have receptors. Receptors are going to provide information about what's happening to the body. So you can think of these as your 5 senses. All right, so you will feel that you're cold. Okay, so you have receptors on your skin that feel temperature change. You have a control center. Control center knows what the value should be for whatever it is that you're looking for. The main control center in your body is your brain, but also for some reflexes, your spinal cord is involved and you don't even actually go to the brain. That's why sometimes we can have very fast reflexes. So we do more with the nervous system later in the year. We'll talk more about that. But the control center knows what the set point should be, knows what temperature you should be. So the receptors are providing information telling the control center we're at this temperature. The control center will decide if that's okay or not. If it's not, then effectors are going to come into play, and they're going to cause a response. They're going to make something happen to change the internal environment to get you back to the homeostasis level that you need to be at. So, easy one to think about is if you're cold, your control center, your brain picks up on that, and the effectors are your muscles that are going to actually make you start to shiver, and that brings your temperature back up. So most of our homeostatic mechanisms actually work on something called a negative feedback loop or feedback inhibition. So it's the regulation system of the human body. Almost all aspects of our body work using negative feedback. And basically what happens is the product of a process is actually going to then limit the continuation of that same process. So whatever gets made, once you make a certain amount of it, your body will stop making that thing. So you only can fill it up so much. So you can fill up a sponge so much before you can't fill it up anymore. So the water that's filling it up is limiting how much water can actually go into the sponge. It's kind of a weird concept, but I'm going to go over a couple of examples with you. Things that work with feedback inhibition: hormones. Most hormones, you release a certain amount until you have reached a threshold and they've done their job, and then you stop releasing those particular hormones. Nervous system activity, like the temperature regulation we're going to take a look at. And also your kidney function. You're only going to take water out if you need to. You're going to put water back in if you need to. So the amount of water is actually regulating how the kidneys function in putting water into your body. Okay? So, again, negative feedback. So a stimulus is going to produce something, and that's actually going to keep the original from happening anymore. Okay, so let's just go into some examples here. So a body condition changes. So you're standing outside and you're cold. Okay, you've now changed your body condition. The body responds to that change. You start to shiver. Okay, so you are cold, now you start to shiver. Your body is going to heat back up. Once your body gets back to its normal conditions, you stop shivering. Okay, the body returns to the normal conditions. You no longer are going to shiver because now you are back to normal. So the shivering actually shut off the shivering because you got your temperature back up to where it was supposed to be. So the whole process is kind of controlling itself. It's a self-regulation type of thing that our bodies can do. Very classic example of this is looking at the thermostat in your own house. Okay, we all have our thermostat set at a certain temperature. So let's say that our set point is 68 degrees. So if I have my thermostat set at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, okay, and the room temperature goes down, right? My thermostat is going to sense that and say, oh, the temperature's gone down, and it's going to tell the heating system to turn on. The heating system is going to turn on, pumping heat back into my house until I get back to 68 degrees. Once I'm at 68 degrees, it's going to then turn off the heating system. So it's not going to keep heating the house forever until it gets to 90 degrees. It stops when it gets to that set point. So the heat is regulating itself in a sense. Okay. Another good example of this is blood sugar regulation. Okay, so both the pancreas and the liver are involved in blood regulation. So we've already talked about these guys with digestion, but now we're going to take a look at them and how they're involved with homeostasis. The pancreas is a very important organ in your body, and it is going to release a hormone called insulin, and it releases that when your blood sugar goes high. So right after you eat, the amount of sugar in your blood increases because you've just digested whatever you've eaten, and there's a lot of sugar that gets broken down, and so that level goes up. Insulin is actually going to help get that level back down by bringing those sugar molecules into cells. They kind of transport them around. Okay, so insulin helps cells take in the sugar. So you get a bunch of sugar in your blood. Insulin's going to grab onto that sugar and bring it over to cells so that the sugar is no longer in your blood. Now it's inside the cells, and the cells can use that for energy. Now, any extra sugar that your cells can't use are going to get stored in your liver as a polysaccharide called glycogen. Okay, so we did talk about glycogen before, so your liver has like an energy reserve within it. Okay. Now, insulin production stops when your sugar levels drop back down. So you will stop making insulin once your sugar levels get back to where they're supposed to be. So you eat, your sugar goes up, you release insulin. When your sugar goes back down, you stop making the insulin. That's a normal system. Okay. Now, the pancreas also has another hormone that it can release called glucagon. Glucagon will get released when your blood sugar is low. So let's say it's right before lunch and you're starting to feel hungry and you can't eat yet, but your blood sugar is low. Your pancreas will release glucagon. The glucagon is going to go over to the liver, and it's going to break down that glycogen into individual glucose molecules. Those glucose molecules will go into your blood and raise your blood sugar back up. Okay? So the glucagon production stops when your glucose levels get high. So once the glucagon's done its job and increased your blood sugar by releasing these glucose molecules, your glucagon production will stop because you now have a normal blood sugar again. So the amount of sugar in the blood is going to regulate the production of both the insulin and the glucagon. Okay? But insulin and glucagon also regulate the amount of sugar that's in your blood. So they kind of are all working together in this feedback mechanism. Okay? Now, somebody with diabetes do not make insulin correctly, or they do not make it at all. So their blood sugar levels are not regulated. So some people have to take insulin in from an outside source. Others have to be very careful about what they eat. And it can be a difficult thing to manage for a lot of people. Okay, so let's take a look at a graphic of this. So again, we have our liver and our pancreas that are involved in our blood glucose regulation. Okay. So here we go. Let's say you just ate right here. We just had some food. Glucose is in your bloodstream, so our blood sugar level has gone up. Okay. Insulin is going to get secreted, and that's going to bring our blood sugar levels back down. If they go low enough, then we are going to once we've used all of our sugar, the extra is going to get stored in the liver. Okay. Now here, if our blood sugar goes down, we haven't eaten in a while, glucagon will get secreted, and that's going to bring our blood sugar back up. Okay, so it's a constant loop that our body does. And we help to regulate that loop by eating at regular times and regular intervals. So we're going to do an activity in class where we take a look at this blood sugar regulation and how it actually works. All right, so we can take a look at the entire body. As we go through the year, we're going to be breaking down and looking at all the different systems. We've talked about the digestive system so far. We've mentioned the endocrine system, but we're going to be doing all of them. So remember, the body is composed of trillions of specialized cells. There's over 250 different kinds of cells in your body, and they all have special jobs. Some examples of these, you have neurons, you have blood cells, muscle cells. They are specialized to do certain things. So muscle cells cannot do the job of neurons. Now, specialized cells will group together and they will make tissues, and tissues will perform certain functions together. So you have nervous tissue, bone is a type of tissue, muscle is a type of tissue. There's epithelial tissue, which is your skin. There's connective tissue, which kind of binds all the different parts of your body together. Those are special groups. Now, groups of tissues can come together and they will form your different organs, and organs will do specific jobs. So your liver is an organ, your heart is an organ, lungs. They all have certain jobs that they're going to do for the body. Then, as you take all of those organs and put them together, those organs are going to work in systems. So we have 11 systems in the body that we will talk about. We're not going to go over all of these in detail, but we will go over many of them. And they're all going to work together in different ways. So all 11 systems of the body work together, and that is going to allow your body to maintain homeostasis. And here is a little picture of all of the different systems and how they're all going to be working together.